class. I've been talking about how do we know that this is truly God's Word, that this isn't just another good self-help book. What are some things in the Bible that we know that are kind of divinely inspired that point to that, based on what we know scientifically and I talked about astrologically last week. So let's open with what most captivates you about God? When you think of God, we use the word awesome a lot, and really we use that really poorly, right? Like true, when things are truly awesome. Like, have you ever been in I think when I first saw the Grand Canyon, you see pictures all the time, but when you see it for the first time, you're just like, whoa, that doesn't even speak to what God is, right? So when you think, Sherry, what do you think?
I was going to say that He loves us so much, no matter what we do or don't do, we know that we are so loved.
Yeah, despite all of our failings, right?
Despite all of our failings. I mean, besides the fact that He created that awesome Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
Besides all that.
And things far more majestic than that many of us have never seen, right?
Well, and we'll never see, but that we're always loved.
Yeah. And I think as parents we can appreciate that too, because we all kind of have our breaking point as parents. We're just like, time out, you tag in other parent, like I can't do it.
I think that when you pray to God to help you through something and to actually see Him work, His work is amazing.
Yeah.
And it's always there.
Yeah.
Even if you don't even know what to say when you're praying, but all you can do is cry, God always answers.
Yeah. And even maybe before your prayer gets answered, the sense of peace and relief and knowing that He's got it, that comes over us, right?
Well, even if you're praying for something and you're asking God, please, and He'll either say yes or no or not now.
Yep.
He knows what's best for us, and that sometimes we have to be able to accept. Well, not sometimes. We have to be able to accept
for sure
His answer.
For sure.
And know that that's where that sense of peace can come in. Because there's times you pray for something and you truly, truly want whatever it is to happen, and when it doesn't, you know that this is God is saying no. So that sense of peace that you have is from Him.
Yes.
May not be most, but I think his imagination, it just fascinates me. You look at all the animals, the plants, insects, the universe, everything. How do you imagine something all like this?
And that's that's kind of where I was heading with that question too. It's just the amazing versatility of everything that we see around us, right? And our theme today was actually going to go to biological evidences and see all these various forms. We're going to hold off on because of some of the things that we talked about last week and some kind of a way that we kind of deviated towards the end. And I thought it'd be good to kind of bring up an element a little bit early before we get some other evidences. But yeah, just the amazing diversity and the creativism. And look at nature and all the many things from the.
Who would ever think of an anteater? Looks like he's going both ways.
Yeah, an anteater looking both ways. And some of the creatures that live in the deep unknown, and some crazy things, and all the interesting. Sometimes we like to call them adaptations, but of creatures and how they can survive and avoid predators and all these amazing things that they can do. Yeah.
Just us, humans. God's got a great sense of humor.
Yeah.
Because there's times when you're just like, you see something and you're like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That had to be planned.
Well, and when you said us, like when I thought of the amazing complexity of our bodies and what we can do, and we're going to talk about that coming up too. We talked about it quite a bit in the convicted class and comparing the two views of where man came from and how very contradictory there are. But this amazing complexity of man. And how do you have a brain without something to hold it, or how do you have a nervous system? But before you have a brain without a nervous system, and all these digestive systems, how does that mold and grow when they all rely on each other, right? So this, the evolutionary model has some holes in it. But, yeah.
He was the first AI.
Thank you for this side of the room. We could talk over here. I was beginning to wonder if this side was already asleep. He was the first. He was the creator before computers are creating everything for us now. Apparently. Yeah. Any other most captivating things.
It's kind of like a puzzle. You
Yeah.
know, how they all fit together.
Mm-hmm.
Without one, you don't have it complete.
Yep, and the amazing complexity of everything, right? And yet somehow the world says it's just all poof, and just can't, right? Perfect order. I don't know if I've seen a bomb go off quite a few times. Fortunately, not in person, but yeah, I don't see things blow up and then all of a sudden they're in a perfect order. Usually, mass chaos, right? So,
You know, man can create something identical to everything, but all of God's creation, there is no two things identical. Even the trees have their own DNA. This tree is different. And everything, there's no two identical things on the face of the earth that God has created.
we actually have that coming up too in one of our verses today. I like it. Other thoughts about things that captivate you? Another thing that comes to mind is life, right? And like when you have your first kid and just the overwhelming, like, whoa. Especially like, oh man, I'm responsible for this thing. That too, I mean, the major responsibility, but just the creation of life and how amazing that is. Yeah. And they see someone brittle and the nurses are tossing around everywhere. And it's like, it's a baby. Why didn't God tell us more about how the world works? Like a science textbook, you think? We have some of these little tidbits that we're kind of uncovering, especially as time goes on and science kind of catches up with God, right? Why didn't you just kind of lay it all out for us?
He didn't think we needed to know. It would have been nice. There's a couple of things it would have been nice if he was more black and white about
Yeah.
than just telling us and we're supposed to kind of figure that out. But if it was really important, the stuff that's important, we do know.
Stuff that it was important, he told us.
Yeah.
We couldn't understand if he told us about all the detail. Look at all the stuff we're discovering day by day.
Exactly.
You know, how many of us know what they're talking about these days?
Yeah. Makes our head hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or maybe if you want to, if you need a nap, start listening to some of the technical jargon, and then you're out pretty quick. Yeah.
I think just like we give our kids interesting things to do to expand their brains. I mean, I think he kept us busy. We have so much we can continue to explore. We're never going to run out of things to explore.
Definitely. There's plenty there to unpack already. Definitely. Yeah. And as kids, right? Do you give your kindergartner calculus? No, you can give them what they need at the time, right? And imagine, the early believers. I mean, 1500 BC. Imagine giving them the things that we know now.
They wouldn't know.
Are they going to understand any of that?
No.
And then if they don't understand, are they going to believe it?
No. They're going to be afraid of it.
No. So yeah, there's kind of an interesting code in there that allows us to kind of discover these things as we go. So it's very, very unique, kind of like that puzzle that we're talking about. So it's cool that we have these little gifts along the way that we kind of keep unopening from God. So yeah, it's kind of cool and mysterious, right? Other thoughts about that? So that being said, thank you for your dialogue. We've talked about some evidences in medicine, and then we had talked about some evidences in astronomy, just in case anybody was gone, or maybe some of us forgot. I like to review it, so I do that in class too. So what are some things that we've talked about that are some evidences that we can point to for a non-believer or maybe an early Christian to be like, hey, look, this is pretty powerful stuff. What are some things that we can kind of hone in on, if you recall? Don't have to necessarily give me the exact verses and everything, but just some general topics that we've talked about. The stars, and specifically that we can't count them all, right? Yeah. And so many people scoffed at that. And so I can count them. I just need a little bit of time to seem to always get around 1,000, and now we know that's not even close, right? Yeah. What's some other evidence? Can't count the stars. Good. One.
Well, this whole sanitation.
Sanitation. Yep. Taking care of your nasty stuff. They'll put it in the alleyway like they did. Might get sick. Right. And then if you do deal with nasty stuff, you probably should clean, right? And there's another passage in the Bible that we didn't talk about, but it specifically talks about actually using running water. And actually, for a long time, doctors were using a bowl and soap and found out, that's not the best, right? We want to flush that out. We want running water. So that's another area that we could have thrown in. Yeah. What else?
Ears,
is not flat.
Earth is not flat. We're going to go back and review that verse and something else to kind of go along with that verse here in a second. Good. Isaiah 40:22. Circle the earth. Let's see, remember?
That the sun also moves.
Sun also moves for a long time. Scientists kind of scoff at that. The sun has a circuit, right? Good. Our circumcision happens on the 8th day, right? Very specific day, and we found that was the perfect day for those blood clotting factors, right? What about the things that we eat?
Cooking it.
Yeah, make sure you cook it thoroughly, but also don't eat things that you find at the side of the road, right? Old school fast food, not a good thing, right? And then make sure, no roadkill, right? And then all certain type of animals, right? Yeah, the clean and unclean animals we talked about. Good. Anything you guys remember else from astronomy? We talked about the Earth being round, the sun having an orbit. What about light? Remember we talked about light? Specifically, the Bible talks about the way that the light travels, right?
Waves.
Yeah, and wavelengths, and also the light can be parted, right? Can be divided. We talked about Roy B. Jones, Roy B.
Roy G.
Roy G.
Roy
Told you I was tired. Yeah. So this is just some of the things that we talked about. Good. I think we got pretty much all of them. Good. So if you did get a chance to, weren't here over the past couple weeks, we are recording that, so we can go back and take a look at it. Like I said, we kind of got off a little bit on a rabbit trail towards the end. So I'm going to kind of circle back and talk about something that we tend to talk about a little bit later, but I think it's good to talk about now that we kind of dive into some of these scriptures. Let's go look back at Isaiah 40:22. Take a look back at Isaiah 40:22. Talked about it last week. Just kind of mentioned it now as well. Reminder to turn off your cell phones. I didn't. First one there. Wouldn't mind reviewing Isaiah 40:22 again with us?
Isaiah 22 or 40?
Isaiah 40:22. Sorry if I misspoke. Nobody wants to read.
It is he who sits above the circle of the earth, and its inhabitants are like grasshoppers, who stretch out the heavens like a curtain, and spread them out like a tent to dwell in.
So if we're having some conversations with people about this, some people might just say, well, yeah, that's just an observation, right? Over the years, people notice maybe like an eclipse, and they see, these round shapes on the moon, and now I don't know how somebody way back then would know that wasn't even an eclipse or what was even happening, but hey, we'll entertain them, right? There's observation made. We talked about 600 BC might have been the first time that they're even talking about a kind of a circular Earth. Still after much of this content was written, but let's just go with them and say, okay, maybe they were able to observe some of these features, right? Let's go with it. Take a look at the second part of that verse. He stretches out the heavens like a canopy. He stretches out the heavens like a canopy. What do we think there?
It covers.
Okay, he covers. Curtain, what do you do with a curtain? You open it, right? Okay, you expand it, right? What other lingo do you have there in your verses? Stretches out the heavens like a canopy.
Mine says tent.
And spreads them out like a tent, right?
Like a veil?
Like a veil. The spreading of a tent and the spreading of a canopy and a curtain. Opening the universes. What is that talking about?
Expand.
Expansion. And when you have something that expands, it does what? It grows. It gets bigger, right? What do we know? Is that it's pretty much. I would say it's common knowledge at this point. Science teacher, you can chime in. What do we know about the universe now? What have we discovered?
It's growing.
It's expanding, right? Which then people must say, well, yeah, Big Bang. It must be expanding because it's a big look. right? We know otherwise, right? Yeah, we've got the expansion of, now how, okay, I'll go with you. Maybe we can make some observations about some circular things on Earth earlier, but how would we know thousands of years ago that the heavens that a lot of people thought that they could count are expanding? Like, why would that even come to somebody to say that? I would love that. That's I mean, we can go with somebody. We can talk this out. But let's keep asking some questions. Well, what about this? Well, what about this? And at some point, they're gonna be like, yeah, I don't know, right? And it's not a gotcha thing. It's just let's think a little bit about this, right? Thoughts on that?
If everything started at one point and expanded out, can't they trace back where that point was and what's there now?
Yeah. Well, and I'm trying to remember, it's been a while since I've done the convicted class, but I'm trying to remember that they said that all of that matter came from less than a centimeter or something.
Yeah. 1.
Nanometer or something crazy, or yeah.
Yeah.
Everything as huge as the universe is, which is what we're gonna show, because you guys alluded to how cool it is when you look at the size of the galaxy. All came from something that we can't even see. God created us with brains that allows us to reason and have critical thinking, right, and common sense, and that doesn't make sense. Yet thousands of years ago, we have writings that state of this, the things that we're just figuring out over the past couple hundred years. It's amazing, right? So as we talk about this expansion of the universe, we alluded to, it's amazing when we look at the immense size of things. Not only large, but small. So I don't know if this is the video that you used, but I came across
That's the
one.
one I sent you.
Oh, okay. I didn't get it. So I didn't make sure. Yeah.
Didn't get the
No, I
other
didn't
one
make sure
either.
that you have my correct email. But this is the best one that I found.
This
So
is the original one. There are other ones nowadays, but
Yeah.
they're not quite as good as that one.
pretty good, right? So let's take a look at that.
It doesn't talk, it's just music.
Got some size comparisons. We're at 10 kilometers and rising. 100 kilometers. 1,000 kilometers. Get out of our solar system now. Inner Oort cloud, I've never heard of that before.
The word cloud,
There you go.
it's mainly dust.
Yeah,
Supposedly where stars compress.
all stuff I don't
And become
remember,
stars.
apparently, from science class. Hey, I know Milky Way. It's also a good snack. A little small at this point. Hopefully we don't get woozy at this point. We're with us. Don't we get too busy? We're not done. We're working at
Smaller now.
1 millimeter. White blood cell. DNA strand. Pretty amazing, right?
That's just what we know.
Yeah, that's just what we know, right? Who knows what else is out there, right? It's goes back to that question, right? What captivates us most? The immense size, right? The complexity. We talk about in math, infinity, right? We're trying to wrap our head around infinite numbers, right? We got infinity in the positive direction, we got infinity in the negative direction, but even with the numbers 1 and 0, we start breaking down. Let's take half of that, let's take half of that, and 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 half of that. And we got an infinity within number, and it's just kind of like mind-boggling, right? That's mind-boggling stuff. How does it make you feel? Tired?
It's funny to me how we named all those things.
Yeah, we did.
The atom and the core, and God made it on. It's like it's just funny. So that's probably not what it's really supposed to be called.
Yeah. I'm surprised we have words left to name everything, right?
Yeah.
Maybe that's why they're getting so complex now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. How's it?
It makes me feel awesome that God knows me.
Yeah.
Because in the universe, even the universe is organized. They didn't believe it, but then they found out that even galaxies will hold other galaxies in place. So you have areas where you have these large groups, they're called the supercluster, but then that supercluster also affects other things around it. So everything holds everything in place.
Yeah.
When you go to the end of the universe and they show you that, but God knows me.
Yeah.
And
At first, I bet your first thought isn't like I feel so
Small.
amazing and proud. Your first thought is, man, I'm totally insignificant. It's kind of what you first feel, right? Until you realize the God of all this stuff loved me.
Knows how many hairs on my head.
Love me so much that he can count our hairs. He knows our thoughts.
I don't
And
even know.
the most amazing part, that going back to what Sherry said, despite all the things that we do poorly, he continues to love us and love us so much. We talked about this last week, that he sent his only son, who did nothing wrong, to die for us, that we might come back with him. It's just amazing, especially even more. Like I said, it's awesome. We use that word really poorly, but it's truly awesome when we see the complexity, and not even see the whole complexity. Like we said, we don't even know it all. This is some of the stuff that we see that he's gifted us with, right? Jim?
He knows all the stars by name.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say that's 2 verses down from what you had us read.
Yeah.
Isaiah,
Oh.
that
In
he's
Isaiah
named
40.
them all.
He's named them all. Yep. And good luck us trying, right? Can't even count them, then much less naming them. Yeah. Yeah. Any other thoughts there? No. Skip it. Go to Job 26:7. Job 26:7. We're in Job. Talked about Job last week. Why we're in Job, if you recall?
Because Job is God is telling Job a thing or two.
Job, God was telling Job a thing or two after Job thought he got a little frustrated, right? Kind of spun it off at God a little bit, right? Somewhere else, elsewhere earlier in Job 26, verse 7, also mentioned something kind of unique about. We listened to some things we talked about last week. So we take Job 26, verse 7.
He spreads out the northern skies over empty space. He suspends the earth over nothing.
Spreads out the northern skies over empty space. He suspends the earth over nothing. Now, if you read that, some people might be like, wait, he spreads the northern skies over empty space? There's plenty out there, right? He suspends the earth over nothing? Any ideas what's going on there? Gravity. He spreads the northern skies over empty space. He suspends the earth over nothing. Something to do with some gravity, maybe? Read into that?
Look at the North Star, it's up there pretty much by itself.
Yeah. I mean, you think of the Northern Star, North Star,
Polaris.
and how that was so much of a guide, right? Especially with early voyagers and whatnot. What comes to mind? Earth spreads out the northern skies over empty space. He suspends the earth over nothing.
God's in control.
God's in control.
Yeah.
way back when, a few people were trying to figure out how everything was created and how we sit upon things and had some pretty interesting. Some people had some pretty interesting revelations. Recognize any of those? Have you seen any of those pictures? Anybody recognize any of that?
Yes.
Yeah.
I
Any
know.
idea where some of those are coming from, or what cultures maybe?
China.
China,
Egypt.
Egypt.
India.
Yeah. This one's kind of a giveaway. That looks very Egyptian, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Many cultures are trying to find, what how are we like here? What are we here? What are we sitting on? What's our structure, right? So I mean, we had scientists. It's not just in today's day. Way long ago, people were trying to figure things out, right? And it's interesting. Many cultures use powerful animals or symbolic structures to represent kind of the stability of Earth. Somehow they kind of figured out, we're here and we're kind of fixed upon something, right? Oops. But what exactly is it, right? So we've got the turtle and the elephant. That's one of the most famous models in Hindu and later North American indigenous mythologies. Depicts the Earth as a disc resting on the backs of 4 elephants, which turn into a stand on the shell of a giant tortoise. Or you might have heard of a tortoise on top of another tortoise on top of another tortoise on top of another tortoise. Some things like that. We have some kind of the pillars of Earth, supported by 12 massive columns, sustained by some religious sacrifices. Ancient Egyptians thought that the sky was sometimes seen as a flat plane, supported by pillars or mountains at the 4 corners of the world. So that's kind of interesting because the Bible has references to some pillars, if you recall. Pillars of the earth, which we'll look at here in a little bit. The world tree, Norse and Germanic mythology centered the earth around, I have no idea how to even pronounce, Yggdrasil. I'm not even going to try. A massive world tree that acted as an axis, connecting different realms and providing a central structure for the cosmos. Very interesting stuff. Another, later Greeks had kind of like a floating log structure, which is kind of interesting.
Atlas.
So
Carrying the world on its shoulders.
yeah, so there's very different ideas, right? But then within those ideas, we have something like Job. He stretched out the north of the empty space and hanged the earth upon nothing. There's all these ideas that the earth is resting on some animals and whatnot. And what is he saying? It's suspended out there, right? It's just suspended in space. Nothing's necessarily holding it up. Now we know we're like we talked about. We had this nice structure, and we've got orbits, and we've got. And when you were mentioning, kind of the galaxies holding some sort of stuff together, it's cool that we see these models within our solar system kind of first, and then as we explore, we kind of see these on a grander scale, in the order of all these massive things, right? So it's interesting, and we might have to look into that and say, is that really what he means? And sometimes the Bible's very literal on things, right? Circumcised on the 8th day, right? Build the ark. Use these measurements. Very, very literal, right? Another thing you kind of have to look into, right? Things aren't always so literal. And I mentioned kind of some flat Earth theories, and some of you guys are like, no. It's amazing how, if you go look online, read some things. Flat Earthers are trying to make a comeback, and it's pretty amazing how strongly they believe in flat Earth, especially with all the technology and everything that we have, the ability to see it for ourselves fairly easily. But where are they going to? A lot of them are going to the Bible, and they're making references to the Bible. They're talking about the 4 corners of the earth, Isaiah 11:12 and Revelation 7:1. Feel free to kind of flip there. The ends of the earth. Well, if there's 4 corners, then maybe we got a square. It's funny that most of the models are actually circular because we have the circle of the earth, right? That we just talked about. So they're saying a literal circle, not a sphere. But then there's also the 4 corners of the earth. So now, and I got changed into a square for some models. The ends of the earth, well, that means the earth's got to have an end. The foundations of the earth. What we think foundation? You're not going to build your house on a slope, right? You're going to have a nice flat surface. So they're thinking maybe it's got to be flat to build all these things upon.
I believe
Right.
the flat earthers think they live in the fourth dimension.
Yeah,
Because then the earth would be a circle.
yeah.
So they're taking lots of liberties.
So I think lots of liberties. Also very literal with a lot of things, right? The pillars of the earth, right? There's something there's a structure that it's based upon the tree visible at all the ends of the earth. And Daniel talks about a tree visible at all the ends of the earth. Well, if a tree is visible at all the ends of the earth, then you can't have a round earth because then you won't be able to see the tree anymore. Very literal. And then the temptation of Jesus, right? Devil took him up and said, "Hey, look at all the land. You can have all this." Well, if it's circle, you can't see everything. It's got to be flat. Well, what do we
They probably don't
say?
believe in dinosaurs either, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what do we say about some of these things? It's in the Bible.
Well, the Bible says it all, because in that same chapter, Isaiah 40, 23, right after he spreads them out like a tent to dwell in, he brings the princes to nothing. He makes the judges of earth useless. So that's what we say. We just go back to the Bible.
Yeah.
You know?
Thoughts? Can we take everything super literally?
No.
No. Right? There's some figurative text in there. We're going to talk about that in the Bible. We're going to talk about that coming up. We'll just take a look at some of these. When we go, if you want to go to Job 38:13 or Psalm 98:3, we're talking about the ends of the earth. Right? What's the main idea there? We got to look at kind of the subject. What are we looking at? What is it? What is God telling us? Is it literally telling us that the earth has a physical edge or boundary, or what is he telling us?
Say wherever you travel, no matter where you go.
Whether you go to distant lands, remote places, right? I'm there, right? These things apply, right? We say that all the time. Far and wide, right? We have kind of phrases for that. We talk about if we jump down to even something we're pretty familiar with, the mountaintop temptation, right? All the kings of the world can only be seen from one high point. Well, it's got to be flat then, right? But do you think something else could have been happening there? We're talking about some supernatural stuff here, right? If the devil literally took him to the top, I don't know. Did they walk up the mountain for a while and literally like they're hiking Everest?
No, it was like you saw in the movie.
Yeah, it's like a movie, like a supernatural event is kind of what we picture, right? I mean, we're talking about some new supernatural stuff. Anyway, the devil will be able to take them here and there and say, hey, what about this? What about this? What about this? Pretty hard to take that literally. Agreed? Thoughts on any of those? Has anybody had dealings with people kind of who think these thoughts and a little bit overly literal, maybe with things?
Well, a lot of times they take it out of context.
Taking out of context?
Because, you wouldn't think of, it stands, even in those same verses of Job, it stands out like a garment. So they're even saying they're using it as a simile.
Exactly.
So that you can understand what he's trying to tell you.
And sometimes it's fairly evident, right? When we see the word like or as such, right? We know it's a simile. Sometimes it's not as evident. So we have to maybe read the whole entirety of the scripture and know what we're talking about. And sometimes we read it and we might not know just yet, right? There's a lot of people way back when that didn't understand some of the things that we know now. We have these little gifts as we go. Why do you think that, this is a little bit more cultural, why do you think there's such a shift towards this flat earth movement? Why do you think might contribute to kind of this reawakening?
Because we don't trust our government anymore. They're telling us a lot of lies and we've caught them in it. So now they're kind of questioning everything.
The younger generations are definitely questioning a lot, right? COVID didn't help in the shutdown and everything, and I mean, we can go into the political and cultural, but just in general, especially we as teachers can tell you, there's a lot of lack of trust, even in simple things, like things to keep kids safe. They don't want to listen to you, which is not you, right? But things that you would think would be common sense. I was just talking to, I don't remember who I was talking to the other day, but would quite literally said, "Oh, it was my principal," and it was like, "Hey, look, they're at a ball game. Like, hey, that's Luis Gonzalez. Yeah, he was this big guy in World Series, did this, and this, and he's pretty cool." Daughter is like, "Oh, okay." Turned around.
I Googled it.
Hey, Dad, that's Luis Gonzalez. It doesn't happen here. Like, they think that anything is verbal is false, but if it's on your phone, it's got to be true. Right?
It's a scary, scary thought.
It
Even though
is.
that's not always true.
And we know there's a whole lot of false information out there. So, yeah, we got to kind of reawaken our trust back instead of, sometimes we're used to saying, hey, I know best. I'm your elder, listen. But we got to provide some truths and some evidence and some hard facts. A little bit more than maybe we needed to in the past, I would say. So we need to be prepared. We need to know some of these scriptures and kind of look at them. So we talked a little bit about literal and figurative language. Kind of what we said with some of those passages. So is the Bible just literal?
No.
Is the Bible just figurative?
No.
No. Here's some things that you might have heard. I am the bread of life. John 6:35. Is God literal bread? You're the salt of the earth. We're holding up pretty good for salt, right? We got metaphoric language, right? And we kind of have the idea of what that means, right? Bread sustains life, right? Salt was so important back then in preserving and flavoring, right? We want to preserve and flavor the world. What about, as a deer pants for streams of water, so my soul longs for you?
Figurative.
Yeah, we got kind of a simile there, right? We got figurative language. Talked about Matthew 23:27. Jesus compares hypocrites to whitewashed tombs, right? Are they literally? That's a new insult, right? If that's literal, right? You're a whitewashed tomb, right? Yeah. Then we talk about some attributive, humative factors, right? The eyes of the Lord and the arms of the Lord stretched wide and far. Do we literally see God's arms on earth, right? Around and around. What about, hey, if you sin, it's better for you to gouge out your eye. Got a whole lot of blind people, right? The Pharisees expressed their frustration at Jesus' popularity, and the whole world has gone after him. Literally, we see a lot of figurative language, right? We got some hyperbole going on there. What about the mountains and the hills shall break forth into singing? Wisdom cries aloud in the streets. I'm not an English teacher, but I think that's called personification.
Right.
Yeah. We see all these literary forms in the Bible. Amazing literary forms from ancient work. We can have a whole other class on how amazing literarily the Bible is. Well before all these times and all these works that were kind of built off some of these, this personification, these similes and whatnot. Right? Let's go to Psalm 102, 25 and 27 and take a look at, do we got figurative language? Do we got literal language here? What's going on? Because sometimes we get too literal, and maybe we take things out of context. We can do the same, so we shouldn't be hypocrites. You want to take that one? 25 to 27.
In the beginning, you laid the foundations of the earth, and the heavens are the work of your hands. They will perish, but you remain. They will all wear out like a garment. Like clothing, you will change them, and they will be discarded.
Go on.
Oh, sorry. But you remain the same, and your years will never end.
Just those 3 verses right there. What are some things that you see? Back to an English class, sorry. I graduated school.
Nothing is permanent.
Nothing is
You
permanent.
created everything, but nothing is permanent.
There's a lot of
Nothing's
similarities.
permanent. Do we know anything about that? I mean, scientifically speaking? Do we know anything about,
Changes.
yeah? We got changes going on, right?
All the time.
Yeah? Yes, Jim?
It says the material world is not permanent, but we are.
The material world is not permanent. Do we know that the world's breaking down? Yeah. Another verses that allude to that. Many verses that talk about how we're kind of decaying, right? And we know that now. What are some things you know in there? Any figurative versus literal language?
He uses like a lot,
He uses like a lot,
like a garment.
Like a garment?
cloak.
like clothing, right? Like a cloak. And then in the beginning, right? In the beginning, you laid the foundations of the earth. Does that mean were the Hindus right? We got this. We're on these foundations. We're on these pillars, or we're on a turtle or something. Literally. What kind of foundations does the earth have? That we know, that they didn't know. I'm not sinking through, right?
Right.
We got some solid ground, right? And below that, we believe that
We're not floating away.
we're not floating away.
Maybe on August 26th we will.
Yeah, right? We know a little about the foundation of the earth and the mantle and the crust and things like that, right? Gravity, and we have things that are holding us, keeping us. We're not floating off, like I said, right? So there's some foundations. And we read that at first, we take it too literal. We might think like literal foundation. When I built a house, or even now like with a skyscraper, it's a little bit more complex. But yeah, we can take that a little too literal sometimes. Go to Job 38:35. We were in Job last week. Go back to Job 38:35. First one there, feel free to go, because we're about out of time. Or if I beat you there, I'll read it. Job 38:35. I win. Do you send the lightning bolts on their way? Do they report to you, here we are? Literal or figurative? Pretty figurative, right? You ever heard the lightning be like, hey, we're here! We showed up! Now what's interesting is some people will go maybe a little bit too far and say, hey, well now this is talking about that lightning, there's light, and light produces sound, and sound has sound waves, and that's how we, I don't know, we as Christians can, I've seen reports of like, oh, that's saying that God's telling us that light produces sound, and sound produces waves, and that's how we can listen to each other. And I don't know. That might be taking it a little bit too far. So we as Christians can kind of do the same thing, right? I see that as God commands the lightning. He can do that, right? He can do that. He has the power to be like, hey, lightning, spot, boom, 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 if he needs, right? What about Job 38:22? Slide up a little bit. Job 38:22.
Have you entered the treasury of snow, or have you seen the treasury of hail?
Interesting. The treasury of snow. Anybody lived up north before?
No.
I would not count snow as a treasure.
God, no.
That's why I'm down here, right?
Not
The treasure of the snow. Literal or figurative? I don't see a lot of people like, it's snowing, let's go collect it and put it in the bank. Right? A little pretty figurative, right? Any idea where, why would they call snow treasure? That's weird.
That produces what?
It provides benefits.
Provides benefits? Yeah. This is where I may go a step further, and I don't know if I should. You alluded to earlier, John, that everything is unique, right? What do we know about snowflakes?
Everyone is different.
They're amazingly unique. Now that we have microscopes and you look at them, you look at the patterns,
What about
Wow.
fingerprints?
and
Every
fingerprints,
One is
DNA,
unique.
all this. If you look under a microscope at snowflakes, that's a treasure. If you look at the complexity of those and the shapes, and like if you're an artist, like the artwork in a snowflake, it's pretty cool. If you've never seen, like, go look at some snowflakes under a microscope. I don't know if that's what that means, but I don't know what that would mean if I talk about treasures of snow. But maybe that's another little gift. I don't know. Maybe I'm taking it too far. Is it interesting? It's an interesting thought, right? Let's do one more. This is going to lead in, help us into next week. Hebrews 11:3. Hebrews 11:3. I'm going to go ahead and take it. By faith, we understand that the universe was formed at God's command. Amen? Amen. So that what is seen was not made out of what was visible. What was seen was not made out of what was visible. What are things made out of?
There was nothing to create. We can make
Nothing create.
pottery, but we have to start with clay. He made all of it out of nothing.
Made out of all of it out of nothing, right? By faith, we understand that the universe was formed by God's command, so what was seen was not made out of what was visible. He made something from nothing? What are we made out of?
Dust.
Okay, he made us and created us out of dust, right? But now, scientifically, what do we know that we're made out of?
Carbon.
Hydrogen.
All these elements, right? Can we see them? Okay.
Kind of.
Yes, we can.
Yes, but all these microscopic things, right? All these little tidbits, right? Some people would say that's what this is talking about. I don't know. Okay? Literal or figurative language? I mean, we have to. That's what we're trying to figure out. Reading into it, reading the entire scripture. So even us as Christians sometimes can say, well, this is alluding to this scientific principle. This is alluding to this. That's why it's good to have these classes and have conversations, and not just be like, oh, this means that this has got to say this has got to say this has got to say this. What does it mean in context situation? What does the root words mean? If we go all the way back to the ancient writings, it's nice to have those conversations and get an idea of where people are coming from. But we can even see kind of where this could go, different pathways, right? So that's why we have these classes. That's why we have these apologetics classes, to dive into the Bible, and not just say, well, this is what my mom told me, so this is what it was, right? This is what I saw on the internet, so this is what it was. What does it mean? What does it mean? Okay? What does it mean to you? What does it mean in the context of the Bible? At the end of the day, though, we need to know what the overall idea is. It doesn't necessarily mean what. I don't have to understand what this literally means. What do I need to know out of this? That God created all, right?
Faith.
That is the overall subject.
Faith. We have to have faith.
Exactly.
That is the all
exactly.
knowing, all everything.
And that's what it says. By faith, we understand the universe form. Do we know everything? Did God give us the science book of everything? No. Can we have some fun conversations about that? Yes. Should we be patient and kind and loving? Yes. But what do we want to know ultimately? The big idea. God created it all. And He's going to give us some things that say, hey, check this out. On the 8th day, I want you to do this. Right? I want you to have this. We have pathways of the sea. We're going to talk about next week. Right? That's pretty literal. Pathways of the sea. Right? We're going to look at some literal things, but there's other ideas that we might have to have some faith on it and know that God is in control. That He made this for us, but we might not know it all. Especially because if we had that book, it wouldn't fit on Earth. So, good conversation. Thank you guys for your dialogue. Sorry I kept you a lot over, but I hope it was helpful. And thank you guys for your talk. Thank you guys for your discussion. Hopefully this got you some things flowing. Don't let us stop here. Thank you.